Hey Chile Heads, welcome back to Red or Green. Today we're gonna make a red chili stew. That's right, not a green chili stew, but a red chili stew. I like to make it on the regular. It's very similar to a poor man's stew, which is with green chili, but we're using red chili powder and some potatoes and ground beef. And you will find that on the channel we actually have some chili colorado, and that is a pork really condensed stew. It's just a different way to enjoy some delicious red chili. You're gonna love this recipe. So we're gonna slice these potatoes the way I learned from my dad. This recipe always takes me back to my roots. I love making it, it's so delicious, and I love serving it up with some fresh beans or calabacitas, and your family is going to love it. I hope you make it. Again, don't forget to tag me on Instagram if you do. If you make a red chili stew, I want to hear from you. Tell me about your recipes and how you make them differently. I'd like to hear from you. Tell me about it. What ingredients do you add in? All right, I think we have everything we need here, so let's get to it. So we're going to start by peeling 2 large russet potatoes. I'm using russet potatoes in this because I like the texture it adds to the stew. Now I'm going to slice the potatoes the way I learned from my dad. These are sort of like rugged cuts from the potato just around the edges of the potato so that they're about 1 inch in size. There's really no rhyme or reason to this specific cut. It's just going around the edges of the top and slicing the potatoes about 1/4 of an inch thick. Now in a large pot, I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of oil on medium heat. I am using some extra oil here because the meat I'm using is very lean, and I want to make sure that we have enough oil to complement the flour later on. Now add in 1 pound of lean ground beef and cook it until just browned. Next, we'll add in our potatoes, and we're going to cook this for about 5 minutes. I want to par cook the potatoes just a little bit. Next, we'll add in 2 tablespoons of flour. And we're going to go ahead and cook this up for about 1 minute. We want to cook that flour taste out. Enjoying the recipe? Hit the subscribe button and click the bell to stay updated. Next, we'll add 3 tablespoons, and you can make these heaping tablespoons of New Mexico red chili powder. We'll leave a link down below so that you have access to this powder. And then we'll cook this up for about another 2 minutes. Don't go beyond 2 minutes because if the red chili powder cooks too much or starts to burn, it'll get bitter and it won't have the flavor that you're looking for. You'll actually be able to smell the chili, and then you know it's ready to add in the broth. Now we'll go in with about 4 cups of chicken broth. I'm using better than bouillon because it's really flavorful and it adds so much umami to this recipe. But you could also use beef broth. Now add in about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm adding very little salt here because I want to make sure that along with the chicken bouillon that it's not too salty. Now I'm going to add about 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. You could use fresh garlic here if you want to. Now stir everything up. Let's bring it up to a boil. And once it's boiling, I'll turn the heat down to low, cover it, and cook it for 30 minutes or until the potatoes are tender. It smells so wonderful in here. The stew has cooked up perfectly. It's thickened up nicely with the flour. And I'm going to serve this alongside some beans or some calabacitas, whatever you'd like. It was just great all on its own. I hope you enjoy this recipe and you give it a try.